Let's take a quick look at what happens to populations that follow a J-curve. If the J-curve did not turn the corner at K, then disaster can strike. If it exceeds the carrying capacity, it can crash and end up in equilibrium at a new carrying capacity that's much lower than the one that it had before it destroyed the habitat by overgrazing or overuse when the population went too high. So here's the J-curve going up, overgrazing and dying off due to starvation or disease or both, and tragedy occurring, where if it is in line with its environment, then it could go on virtually indefinitely, being in equilibrium with the environment. So of course, if we had our choice, we'd probably choose the S-curve and not the J-curve. So does such a population collapse occur in real life? Do these J-curve collapses happen? Well, yes, they certainly do. And the most famous case is the Kaibab Plateau deer herd. The Kaibab Plateau is on the northern rim of the Grand Canyon, and this is a graph drawn by Aldo Leopold himself. And he was aware of this collapse of the Kaibab Plateau deer herd, and it's probably the most famous case in all of wildlife management, because a deer herd went from 4,000 animals in 1905 to 100,000 in 1924, and then collapsed. 60,000 deer died in the next 2 years of starvation. So the first damage had been seen early on at about 1918, but people didn't do anything about it, and so the herd went up, overgrazed, and collapsed. Now, one of the interesting things that Leopold did was to look at the number of predators that had been removed during the same time. And this was quite a revelation in its day, and it still is. So at this time, when the deer were moving into the explosive phase, 600 cougars had been removed between 1907 and 1917. Another 74 cougars were taken between 1918 and 23, and another 142 later, giving a total of cougars of 816 that had been removed. 30 wolves had been removed, and almost 7,400 coyotes, giving a total of over 8,000 predators that had been removed from this same area during this time when the deer exploded and collapsed. And so Leopold's conclusion was clear. If they hadn't taken the predators away from the ecosystem, this exceptional explosion and collapse wouldn't have happened. That taught him something that he never forgot, and that the rest of the world hasn't forgotten either, because the Kaibab is still a very well-known case. Another case is with the Alaska reindeer on St. Matthew Island. 29 were introduced in 1944. They likewise exploded to 6,000. Almost all of them died in the winter of 1965. They starved to death. They couldn't get enough hay out there to help them, and they were left with just a population of 42. So almost 6,000 reindeer starved. So this sort of exponential growth does happen, and with tragic consequences. Has this ever happened with people? Well, yes. Jared Diamond goes through cases of Easter Island, the Vikings in Greenland, and the Anasazi people of the Southwest, where those people also followed a J-curve, overusing their habitat and collapsing with a tragic result. This book covers several cases like this, and Jared Diamond asks whether or not Easter Island might be a metaphor for the Earth, because the Earth is also very isolated, just like Easter Island is. But we have a chance to have a different outcome for our planetary island. Jared Diamond points out that it took 20,000 people with Stone Age tools 800 years to destroy their 60 square mile island. And it's kind of funny, he asks the question, what did the man who cut the last tree say as he cut it? And his students came up with these answers. Fear not, technology will save us. You folks care more about trees than you do about people. I have private property rights. I'm cutting this down to worship our gods. They won't let anything happen to us. Well, it's a very interesting book, and Diamond believes that we can avoid the scenario that the Easter Islanders face, but we need to take heed